Okay, so you've finished exposing your roll of film, or you've forgotten how many exposures are on your roll of film. So every roll of film will indicate how many exposures there are on it. In this case, this one has 36. All right. This roll has 24 exposures. Okay. Here on this box, there's a 27 exposure roll. So it varies. And those are the three most common exposure counts, okay? So as you expose, and if you don't, put a piece of paper in here reminding yourself of how many exposures your roll has, or you don't write it down somewhere and you can't remember how many exposures this roll has, the best and most effective way to tell if you have anything left in the roll, or if you've reached your exposure limit for the roll, is to do this. Open up your rewind lever and wind film back, okay? This is going to make the film inside the canister, which is loaded inside here, tight, okay, across the back. That's all I'm looking for. I'm just looking for it to be a little tight. So if we watch the tip of my thumb, you'll see how much pressure I'm applying. The more pressure I apply, if you watch right here, I'll apply a lot of pressure. See how my thumbnail turns white? I'm barely applying pressure, all right? So that's how much pressure you want to apply to your rewind knob to understand how tight your film is inside your canister, all right? Once you've done that, your next step is going to be advance the film, okay? But you're going to do so very carefully. You're trying to feel for the point at which the film stops advancing through the film plane. What we're also going to do is we're going to watch our rewind lever. Our rewind lever, now that it's wound tight, will travel as the film comes out. So it's going to travel in the exact opposite direction that we wound it. So we wind film in the clockwise direction, and film becomes unwound in the counterclockwise direction. Okay? So I'm going to advance, and I'm going to watch. I'm pretty sure this is a 24 exposure roll, and that I am, as you can see indicated right here, I'm on exposure 24. Just because it's advertised as a 24 exposure roll doesn't mean there's only 24 exposures in the roll. But as a general rule of thumb, you only want to expose the amount that is advertised. If ever you forget the advertised amount, this is how you can solve it. Tighten and then advance. As we advance, we're going to watch. Watch my thumb to see how much pressure I'm applying to the advance lever. See the take up or the rewind lever is advancing and it's rolling. And I am gentle. I get to about there. Oh boy. And I really start to feel a lot of tension build up in the lever here. Well, I haven't advanced all the way yet. I'm not at 0 or at the full advance distance. So I'm going to push it just a little further. And as I push it further, if you'll notice, nothing happens over here, right? Pushing on this and nothing is happening, which is an indication to me that I'm at the end of my roll. If I push this any further, I could literally rip the film out of the canister. Once you rip the film out of the canister, don't do anything. Take it to the camera store, take it to your local camera shop and let them solve it. Or unload it in the dark. If we look here, you can see it's indicated that we are on the 25th frame. All right, I'm going to just expose anything, and when I get this roll back, we will find out whether or not I actually had a 25th frame of film or not. In all likelihood, I do not have a 25th frame, but let's just find out. And look at this. So I didn't advance far enough to even be able to recharge the shutter. So to me, this is a clear indication that this is a 24 exposure roll. I could have told you that because I knew that. But if I had forgotten, this is the simplest way to determine. This should work for just about any 35mm camera that has this type of rewind and advance system. I can't off the top of my head think of a camera where this wouldn't work if they have both of these systems in place. But we've got to transport it back to our canister because we want to deliver the canister to the film, or deliver the canister to the camera shop so they can develop it. So to do so, what we're going to do is we're going to open this lever up like that to rewind our film back into our canister. The R button, exposed film, is sitting over here, an indication of the rewind. So I'm going to depress this, and we should hear a click. Take up spool. So we don't hear a click. It just pushes down and stays down. Okay. With that pressed and down in place, we open up our lever for our film rewind, and now we start to transport the film back through. If I could open this back up and you could see, you would watch the film advance back this way. Okay. And we're just going to do that. You'll notice our numbers do not decrease as we wind backwards. The only time that resets is when you open the film door. If we listen, we can hear the film winding back past the sprockets. So let's take a listen. That is the typical sound you want to hear. And if we look at how much tension or pressure I'm applying to rewind the film, you'll notice it's not much. Like, it does not take much to push this around. Right? It doesn't take much at all. Every film is going to feel slightly different. Some films are thicker than others. Some actual cartridges are different than others. But in general, your rewind happens very smooth and without drama. We'll speed up. Now, hopefully you heard that like clicking. I usually wind a couple times past. Now, I know without a doubt that all the film that was over here is now transported back and inside my canister. And it is now safe to open this back. So I'm going to pull up on the top here a little bit, lift, pop, and now you'll notice my counter has reset to S. Okay, this is the actual shutter. So when you take a picture, what actually happens is one shutter goes this way and the second shutter comes this way. Okay, and that's an exposure. The amount of time that it takes for this to happen is your shutter speed. Sometimes your shutter speed is so fast that the second shutter, this guy here, follows closely to your first shutter. And it's literally just this. It's like a scan. So we see this black across metal, right? Right here, divided by two curves. Looking at it now, we can see that my advance was not a complete advance. And that's why when I pressed the button to take a picture, nothing happened. To fix this problem, all you have to do is continue your advance. So we're going to advance this across. And now the shutter is charged and ready to be fired. I'm going to unload my spool of film. All of it is now self-contained inside of here. And if we look at this roll, 24 exposures. Okay. So hopefully some of this information helps you in operating your